So you've saved over $1.5 million into your 401ks and IRAs, and you're about to retire, or you just retired and you're realizing you haven't paid tax on any of that retirement savings yet. And you're wondering, how do you reduce the tax on this money? How do you reduce your taxes in retirement? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about factors to consider and strategies to utilize to help reduce the taxes on your retirement savings and help keep more of your hard-earned retirement savings in your pocket versus giving it to the IRS in taxes. For those new to the channel, I'm Scott Sierens. I run a retirement planning firm where we partner with families and individuals, people just like you, to help them understand when they can retire, how much they can spend in retirement, how to help minimize their taxes on their retirement savings so that way they can invest, retire, and spend with confidence. What I want to do is walk you through a scenario as some very typical individual and family scenarios that we work with, and then strategies that we utilize to help them reduce the taxes on their retirement savings and in their retirement. Taking a look here, a very typical scenario is that they've saved up over $1 million in their IRAs and 401ks. Money, as we talked about earlier, that hasn't been taxed yet. I find a lot of people have been conditioned to save into those IRAs, 401ks because of these age-old theories that their taxes may be lower in retirement because they'll no longer have their wage income coming in. And while that could be true, could also be false. And we'll talk about that here in a second. And just in our scenario here, let's just say couple, they've saved up $200,000 into their brokerage account, $1.7 million into their IRAs and 401ks, and then another $100,000 into their Roth account. So they got started a little bit later on the Roth, the tax-free side of things. Now, before we even dive into any of the strategies, first, what's important is to understand the factors that you need to consider before utilizing any of the strategies. Okay, so the factors that you should be considering is always comparing today versus the future. And the first factor that you want to consider is taxable income. So before you get into any of the strategies, understanding what is your, on the vertical scale here, taxable income going to look like today versus sometime in the future. So let's just say you're 62, you haven't retired yet, so you might have some wage income coming in. Let's say you're getting a little bit of an increase over time, and then maybe you plan to retire here at 66. So things that we need to take into account right now is wage income, maybe you've got rental income, anything that's coming in right now. What is your taxable income today? Then once you retire, one of the things that you need to really factor in and understand for the future, and this is where those IRAs and 401ks can really surprise people of how your taxes can go up in retirement, is based on your age, come age 73 or age 75, you have to start taking the required minimum distributions. So let's just put that down here. Could be 73, could be 75. Of course, the IRS could always change the rules again. And you have to start taking those required minimum distributions. So we've got to factor in RMDs. Don't forget, you'll probably be taking Social Security. Maybe you've got a pension. And you got to factor in all of that income and see where does that put you on that taxable income scale. And I drew kind of an upward gradual line there. And the reason being for that is, let's just say you're able to maintain kind of the base of your IRA 401k over time, just because of, yes, you're gonna have to take money out, but because of growth, you're maintaining that base. Well, for instance, an RMD, the required minimum distribution at age 73 on this 1.7 million is $64,151. At age 85, let's say again, you maintain that 1.7 million, taking money out, but getting growth in the account, the RMD at age 85 is going to be $106,250. So that's why I kind of have that gradual line, because you also have to then again add in what is your Social Security, maybe you've got a pension, maybe you've got rental income, And as you can see, maybe in your future, you're going to have higher taxable income in your future than where you're at today. Maybe as you do this, you'll have lower taxable income in your future than where you're at today. So before any of the strategies, you want to understand what's your taxable income look like today and what's your taxable income look like in the future. The second factor that you want to consider is, what do you think tax rates are going to be today versus the future? Do you feel like taxes are going to stay the same? Do you think tax rates are going to go down? Or do you think tax rates are going to go up? Now, in my personal opinion, with all of the debt that we've got going on in our country, tax rates have nowhere to go but up. Plus, right now we're under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that's scheduled to expire the end of 2025. If so, and if Congress lets it expire, tax rates will go up. So taxable income, what do you think it is today versus the future? Tax rates, where do you think your tax rates will be today versus the future? And then the third factor to consider before we do any strategies is you also want to understand what we call the widow's tax. And I'll talk about that at the end. So stick around to the end, because I'm going to talk about if you're a couple listening to this, I'm going to talk about what the widow's tax could potentially mean to you and your retirement savings. Okay, so now we've put together all of the factors on a chart, right? We've got our taxable income on the vertical line, we've got our age here on the horizontal line, and we can start doing some comparisons. Again, this is just a hypothetical, but if I were to draw a line, as you can see for this scenario, their taxable income in the future is going to be higher than where it's at today. Meaning, if tax rates were just to stay the same, they're going to pay more taxes in their future than they were going to pay today. Folks, this is what's called tax planning. This is what we go through with all of our clients. As I mentioned, very typical scenario here to put together this kind of chart to understand where's your taxable income in the future versus today, and then the strategies we should start utilizing. So let's just say your taxable income will be higher in the future than where it's at today. Well, let's talk in regards to some different strategies here. Well, one strategy, assuming, as I had said, they're still working, age 62, not planning to retire until age 66, and let's say you're still contributing to your retirement accounts. Well, first thing I would do is then start switching which retirement account you're contributing to. So if you're still contributing to your IRAs and 401ks, as you can see by the chart here, you're just adding to future taxable income. Again, higher taxable income in your future than where you're at today. So rather than add to that higher future taxable income, I would switch. I would start paying tax today and start contributing to your Roth. Maybe your company has a Roth 401k. Maybe you can contribute to your Roth IRA. Maybe it's through the backdoor Roth IRA. But that's one switch, one strategy that I would implement then is start contributing to your Roth. We did this with a most recent client as they were in a very similar picture to this, where their future projections were higher today, but they're putting all their money into their 401ks. What we did instead is we switched around where they were putting that money and switched it to their Roth 401ks. If you don't have that ability, then again, Roth IRAs, backdoor Roths, so on. All right, the second thing, we're not even to strategies yet with the IRA or 401k. Still just looking at all of your other buckets to help reduce those retirement taxes. The second thing you want to look at is taking more of an equity focus in your brokerage account. So that first bucket here, your brokerage account, that's taxed each and every year. You're taxed on dividends, interest, and gains. Well, if you have a safer focus in that brokerage account, meaning you've got bonds in there, bonds produce interest, interest is taxed at your ordinary income tax rates. By shifting to more of an equity focused, where now you're looking at dividends, and if they are qualified dividends are taxed at capital gains rates. And if you, again, take more of an equity focus and a long-term focus, you can get then the overall account focused on long-term capital gains rates, which is more favorable than ordinary income tax rates. So number two is more of an equity focus in the brokerage account. Number 3, here's where it really starts to get interesting and taking a very strategic approach. Number 3 is Roth conversions, starting to get money out of that IRA and 401k, getting it over into that tax-free bucket. But just remember, when you do so, you're going to pay tax at the, I'm going to say pay tax today, but basically pay tax in the year that you do the conversion. Now, always if you've listened to any of my videos, I'm always going to tell you, make sure that you consult a tax preparer as well as your qualified financial professional to help you through the Roth conversion process, because you really need to understand you're going to pay tax today to get the money over to the Roth, where then it grows tax-free, and all of the withdrawals on what you put in plus the growth are tax-free withdrawals. But as you can see here, it could help, because if your taxable income is lower today than where it's at in the future, basically by doing some Roth conversions, you're taking some of this higher taxable income in the future and you're shifting it over to areas where it might be lower tax, where you might have lower taxable income, and you're trying to just level out your overall taxes, I'll say reduce and level out the overall taxes you'll pay throughout your retirement. So Roth conversion, kind of that first level, right? But then there's kind of some additional levels under the Roth conversion and some really strategic approaches here. So one, I'm just going to kind of put this here, Roth conversion. Now, one approach that you could take is that you live off of your brokerage account first. So if you're living off your brokerage account first, prior to that RMD age here, you might be able to really reduce your taxable income by living off your brokerage account, therefore keeping your taxable income pre-Roth conversion really low, and shifting again future higher taxable income over into this section here, again, where it could be getting taxed at a lower rate. So one, living off your brokerage account at retirement, keeping your taxable income really low, and then converting at some lower rates than where you might be otherwise in your future. The other thing is delaying Social Security. So not only living off your brokerage account, delaying your Social Security to really help keep that taxable income low. We do have some clients where we are doing Roth conversions over here while they're still working, just based upon, again, all of these different numbers, and seeing that they could be at a higher taxable income in their future than where they're at today. So where you do the Roth conversion is all going to be based upon this tax plan. It's going to be based upon where your taxable income is today, where it might be at retirement, and then where it might be here in your future when you have to start taking required minimum distributions. And everything you can do to help bring that down through these different approaches, contributing to your Roth, making sure you're taking more of an equity focused in your brokerage account, helping reduce the later on tax burden by doing Roth conversions. All of these can help reduce taxable income, or the overall taxable income, and help reduce your taxes in retirement. A fourth approach there, so we said Roth conversions, we said live off brokerage, we said delay Social Security, and then another item under that is doing what we call donor advised funds plus Roth conversions. So you can do donor advised fund from your brokerage account and utilize that big donation to help offset some of the Roth conversion and convert, again, money from that IRA, 401k over into that Roth account. So lots of different items there and strategies and approaches that you can take. And again, the overall goal is just to keep bringing that taxable income down throughout your lifetime. All right, before we get into the widow's tax, as you can see, your income that you'll have coming in will have a huge impact on your taxes in retirement. And if you're not yet taking Social Security, you can download our free guide to understanding Social Security decisions. You can get it at lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Again, that's lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. The guide is going to provide you actionable advice about the timing of claiming your benefits, plus how to help supplement your Social Security income. What this means to you is that it can help you understand how to optimize and maximize your Social Security benefits, potentially helping you create hundreds or thousands of dollars more income in your retirement. Again, you can get it at lifemoneyshow.com/Social Security. Okay, so with that, let's finalize here on the widow's tax. If you're a couple listening to this video, I think it's important that you understand the widow's tax when it comes to your retirement. So let's just say all things the same in our tax projection here. Let's say rates are going to stay the same, your taxable income is going to stay the same all across the board. Well, then it's important to understand what happens if one person were to pass away. And I'm just going to give you an example based on 2023 tax rates. So this just, again, based on this year, let's say you have $88,000 of taxable income. Well, if you're married filing jointly, those people would you'd sit in the 12% bracket. But again, if one person were to pass away, now that same $88,000 of income, that person now, that single versus married filing jointly, jumps up to the 22% bracket. So that's another thing that you really need to consider here. It's something that we look at as well as we're doing these tax projections and tax plans, is that if you're a couple, leaving your spouse with an IRA or 401k could potentially be bumping them up into a higher tax bracket and giving more money to the IRS. So that's another reason to go back and implement some of these strategies that we talked about earlier in your overall plan. Hey, I hope that you found today's video to be of value and benefit. And if so, and you want to see additional videos to help you minimize your taxes in retirement, help you understand how to maximize your retirement income, subscribe to our YouTube channel as we're continuing to come out with new videos each and every week on subjects just like those. I look forward to our next conversation to continuing to help you enjoy life today and be financially confident about your retirement.